Until you're happy with who you are, nothing is going to change. Like, even if you do a fad diet or whatever it is that you think is going to make you feel better, it doesn't. There's always going to be something that you're going to pick on yourself for. Whatever it is that you're looking at every day and criticizing yourself in the mirror about, until you accept it, the rest is never going to happen. You're just not going to be happy.
You have to forgive yourself. It's a process of getting from where you are to where you want to be. And nobody said it's an easy journey. There's ups, there's downs. Sometimes there's big downs. And at the end of the day, you wake up and you say, let's do it again. And you're up and at 'em again. We're unique. And so we want to lean into that, embrace that, and show that to the world, because the world needs to see it.
If you are out there and you feel good and you are confident with who you are and you're like, I do look really good, and you don't need to have a glass of wine to feel like that, it shows. It shows. It's a mindset. And people are attracted to that mindset and to that positivity.
You Are Beautiful, podcast with J. Kim, ND.
Welcome to the You Are Beautiful podcast with J. Kim, MD. I'm your host, Dr. J. Kim, a double board certified facial plastic surgeon, and I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to make the world a more beautiful place, starting with you. There are 3 core tenets that you must embrace to start your beauty journey. The first is that you are beautiful. The second is you are unique. And the third is that you are worth it. Let's dive into today's episode. Today I have a wonderful, very special guest from Buffalo, New York. And her name is Elizabeth Snyder. She is not a photographer. She is a women's portraiture artist. I love that term. She's a women's portraiture artist, a confidence expert, and a workshop leader. Her passion is helping women to feel their best. She has numerous accolades, including the WeddingWire Couples Choice Award, top 10 photographers in Buffalo through expertise. I'm really excited to talk with her about her work and how she makes the world a more beautiful place. Welcome to the show, Liz.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to talk to you today.
Thank you. Likewise. We are so linked by our time in Buffalo. So I spent 9 years doing school and training in Buffalo. So there's beauty in Buffalo, is there not?
There really is. We absolutely love it here.
Yeah. So I spent 9 years there, and the winters are not forgiving. We'll be perfectly honest about that. But the summers, they are sweet. They are a little bit shorter than we'd like, but they are sweet. So I really, really enjoyed my time there.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, no, summer. I mean, it's been in the 70s the last 2 days. It's beautiful here.
Here in the DC metro area, it's 90s, 100 sometimes, and it's humid. So there are those brief moments where I'm like, Buffalo summer was really nice.
Yeah, for sure. I can put up with the snow.
Yeah, since they clean it pretty well, I could put up with the snow for those years. And there was November in 2014 remember that when the Bills had to relocate their game to Detroit that following weekend. Great to have you. And so let's just dive right in. So,
great.
Liz, how do you impact the world and make the world a more beautiful place?
Oh, I love this question. I help women feel worthy of being photographed in their family albums, being present for their own pictures, headshots, boudoir, glamour, even family portraits. A lot of us hide in the back of our kids. We hide behind the camera. And it is so important for your legacy to be present in the pictures, and you are totally worth it.
Yeah, I think that kind of hiding in the photos, it kind of resonates with the idea that, especially as working professional women, moms, you're pouring yourself into your work, you're pouring yourself into your family, and oftentimes you don't get the recognition. Like, people will tell you, oh, thank you, and you're beautiful and great and all that stuff. But at the same time, I think it's great that you're letting women take the spotlight.
That is definitely my happy place. I am very fortunate to have kind of this connection with what you're supposed to be doing and starting that conversation. And once we get the ball rolling, the true smiles and the true personality comes out when I take their picture. When they're in front of the camera, they're not looking at me, they're looking at that lens, and it's almost like a mirror. So they're seeing themselves. And to be able to take somebody who's almost angry that they have to come in for a headshot because their boss told them to or whatever, it's so excited they can't wait to do it again. So that is something that is very near and dear to me.
Yeah. I think that the client experience is so important. And I think you're alluding to that with the initial mood or demeanor that they may come in with. And then you start the photography experience and it really transforms them. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So before they even sign up with me, we go through a rigorous kind of Q&A session. What do you need your pictures for? When was the last time you had one? How many times have you been professionally photographed? We get a lot of information, and then we send out how to prepare, what to expect, what to bring, all of those things, and also a wardrobe consultation. And that tends to ease their minds a little bit because a lot of people are kind of lost in what colors do I bring? What fabrics do I bring?
I think comfort with a client experience is so important. You obviously go to a professional like yourself as a client to have the results, right? In terms of the final product, but at the same time, the journey to get there is very important also. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. It's so funny. My whole vibe, like from the time we started really working in the studio, has been, what do you do and how did you get there? So if you were asked the question in like kindergarten, what do you want to be when you grow up? And your answer was rock star, and you're, working for a bank in collections or whatever it is that you're doing, I would love to know how that happened. Who told you no, and you believed them, and how did that process kind of happen, and why aren't you inviting it into your life a little bit more? Because chances are you're still belting out songs in the car.
Right.
We always kind of keep that with us, and it is where we feel most authentic and where we feel most seen and heard, even if we are afraid to do it in front of other people.
Yeah. It's funny. I think of people singing in their car, singing in the shower, afraid to let that part out, I guess, or not knowing how it'll be received, right? But you're here to tell them otherwise.
Yeah, for sure. It's letting go of that fear, and that is like so ingrained in us. So we've been, as women anyway, we've been bombarded with all of this media from 100 years ago. It kind of started where you have to have a 12-inch waist and you have to look this way and buy this product and do this thing in order to be beautiful. And it's just not true. And we believe them, and our mothers believe them, and our grandmothers believe them. And it's been like this whole generational trauma around, well, I can't wear this or do this or be this, or I am, going to stand out and make a scene of myself. And I love that this newer generation coming up is so anti all of that. It makes me very happy. But in the meantime, we have to get, the Gen Xers, the millennials, we kind of got to be on that same page with them. And if we don't do the big scary stuff, we never grow.
The big scary stuff. I like that. So you were talking about generational trauma, and over decades, over centuries, really, how women's voices, women's beauty has kind of been influenced by outside. And unfortunately, it's been perpetuated, right? Not just by the outside, but also from within. And so can you talk a little bit about how you brought it upon yourself to break out of that?
Yeah, that was a journey. It has been something that has been part of my life most of my life, until I was getting into my 30s, and starting to not feel well. I was starting to gain weight. I was starting to just feel really run down, low energy. And that is so not who I was, like, up until that point. And part of that was my second cancer diagnosis, with thyroid.
Yeah.
So like getting a diagnosis like cancer, like even though thyroid and even cervical was like really easy to kind of like, you get an operation and it's pretty much gone, which is great because, but it's still cancer. And there's nothing like being faced with that kind of gets rid of that fear. And it's not the things that I did that I regret, it's the things that I didn't do. And getting to that point and realizing that point and not getting the cancer diagnosis to realize that is definitely my mission. I really, really would love for women to just put themselves out there. We are all square pegs. There's something weird about all of us. And that weirdness is what people love. As soon as you're authentic, people, they are so attracted to that.
Absolutely. When I was thinking of my 3 core tenets, I could have gone with you are beautiful, you are weird, you are worth it, but I don't think it would have resonated as well. But I get exactly what you mean, that we're unique. And so we want to lean into that, embrace that, and show that to the world because the world needs to see it.
Yes. Yeah, they do. Yeah, for sure. It's something that we hide too much, and if you look at the women who are on top, now with the Democratic Party, we have Kamala Harris, right? And she is not the typical candidate for president. And no matter what side you're on, like that is an amazing thing. That's an amazing thing. And she's just sliding into it. Yeah. Like she's embracing it. She knows that she is not, fitting the mold and going with it. And I think we could all kind of take a page from that book.
I think there's a good amount of analyzing your behavior, things like that. But like you said, there's a tipping point after which it's overthinking. It's not helpful to yourself. You're just wasting brain power. And
yes,
you're not being you. I mean, you don't want to hurt anybody, obviously.
Right.
But your expression of yourself is what the world needs.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And that, for those of us that have that monologue going on in our brains, and not everybody does, which surprises me sometimes, but it's like, if you listen to that voice and just kind of stop and be mindful of it, you would never say these things to somebody else. You would never allow somebody else to say these things to you.
Sure.
So it's time to, kind of get over it, silence it, thank it, because it is trying to protect you, but move on because, we're adults now. We don't need all of that protection. We're not running from the bear anymore.
Absolutely. I really love how you are empowering women by putting them in the spotlight with your photography. I wanted to kind of shift gears a little bit to talk about finding your purpose. Now, it's a related topic, and I feel like it's something that's near and dear to your heart. Some people may search their entire lives or most of their lives for their purpose, but you say you can find it in minutes. So tell me about that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So it surprised me that a lot of people don't remember the answer to the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? For me, I was extremely lucky. I knew at 8 years old that this is what I wanted to do. And it was through practice. So I have literally been in photography since I was 8 years old, through my aunt. And it was like magic. And I think not enough people get to experience what that is for them. And if it is astronaut, or if it is, if we don't have the resources to kind of experience that, then it is never known. And I think that there are too many of us kind of living in zombie land. We go to work. If we have families, we are running around like crazy with our kids, or, we don't really sit and reflect what it is that makes us happy. And I mean, kids are only at home for so long, and then they're adults, and then they move on to their own things. So my mission is to help women, especially if they didn't ever have the resources to be creative, to do the things that they thought that they would do, and instead are working for a paycheck, which is really just fulfilling somebody else's dream. And going into showing them how to make that knee-jerk reaction and make it come out of their mouth without processing it. And that is truly what it is. Like, what makes you happy? What has always made you happy? And you know what it is because you are in like this euphoric state when you do it. You go into that zone of genius, and you're almost disembodied. And it's something that is something that I'm very good at doing. And especially when somebody is relaxed. So they come into the studio, they, either they get a drink, wine or whatever, and they're already kind of relaxed, and then they're having their hair and makeup done. And how many of us get to do that professionally all the time,
Yeah.
And we just start a conversation. And from there, they're like, oh, I did always want to be a ballerina. You're right. It's not too late to take a class, and you may not ever be a prima ballerina, but you're inviting it into your life, and it is going to make you a happier person. Like, just making the time. And even if we're so blessed to have this technology now. So even if it isn't something that you maybe can afford, or, don't have the time for, but you can watch a YouTube video on it and see other people doing it, and maybe start taking up some stuff, and you just introduce it a little bit into your life at a time, and you're going to be so much happier for it, instead of just feeling like your job is miserable, your home life is miserable. It's so hard to kind of get out of that. So it's very important to have those hobbies.
Yeah, one of the things that I think of is you were mentioning before we started recording that you have 3 kids. And I mean, you're still so young. The thing is, as a young mom with 3 separate mouths to feed, and, 3 sets of diapers to change and all that sort of thing, like, how did you find and then keep leaning into that passion and that purpose?
That was very hard. So our oldest is 22, and she's actually my stepdaughter. So I didn't have her when she was younger. But my older 2 are 21 and 17. And when I was a very young mother, and I got divorced very young, and found an empty bank account and no car, and had to juggle bills and all of the rest. And my turning point, and you know how Buffalo winters are.
Brutal.
Yeah, they are. My turning point was I was holding out on going grocery shopping because I needed a ride. And I was waiting for the weather to kind of break and for somebody to give me a ride. And it just wasn't happening. And it was in February. It was the middle of winter. It was miserable. Nobody shovels their sidewalks. And, I'm dragging the kids in a sled to get up to the food bank about a mile away. And it was awful. It was I'm never doing this again moment. And, I knew I had to get a job to start, because I didn't have a camera. I sold everything to kind of pay things off. And I knew I had to get a job, and I knew that I needed to keep something in my life to keep me happy, because working 3 jobs was not doing it. remembering that my brother had a camera that I could take from him and getting back into it and practicing. And, you know, everything kind of changed when we went to digital. So relearning everything.
Sure. Yeah.
And honestly, I was working at a bank later and I was stealing time from them all the time to watch YouTube videos on how Photoshop works and, you know, what I can be doing with my workflow. But once my youngest went to kindergarten, I got to start a business, and within a year I was doing what I loved, and it just worked out, which is how it works. You are true to yourself. You do the stuff that you have to do. It's going to work out. And everything kind of happens for a reason. And I don't regret any of it. Yeah, I'm a very much stronger person now because of all of the stuff. And when you start thinking like, okay, this is what I had to do to get through this, you can kind of forgive yourself a little bit for some of the things that maybe you had to go through.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. There's a lot that I'm sure you unpacked to be able to share it in this manner. But one of the things that really strikes me is that you have to forgive yourself. It's a process of getting from where you are to where you want to be. And nobody said it's an easy journey. There's ups, there's downs, sometimes there's big downs. And at the end of the day, you wake up and you say, let's do it again. And you're up and at 'em again. So yeah, I really appreciate your sharing that.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's until you're happy with who you are, nothing is going to change. Like even if you do a fad diet or whatever it is that you think is going to make you feel better, it doesn't. There's always going to be something that you're going to pick on yourself for. And it is something that, like, even if you are overweight, even if you're, you know, even if you have a mole on your face that you want to get rid of, whatever it is that you're looking at every day and criticizing yourself in the mirror about, until you accept it, the rest is never going to happen. You're just not going to be happy. Yeah.
I appreciate that you said happy with who you are, not happy with what you do.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. It's who you are. It's who you be. You know, it's your actions and yourself, your beauty, because it doesn't matter. Like your kids don't care. Your husband really doesn't care. You know, it's, you know, you move and you exercise for you. And it's not, you got to do it for you and not to lose weight, to start. And, you know, it's enjoying the process, even when you don't want to do it. You're so much prouder of yourself when you do. And doing it for a different reason other than, you know, weight loss is where that.
For a specific number of pounds or
exactly. Yeah.
So as you developed your portraiture skills, can you tell me about some of the aha moments? There, you know, as we learn a particular skill or craft, for me, like I play violin, and there were some aha moments as I was continuing to learn. And I know that with portraiture, there's technique, but there's also artistry. Can you kind of go into some of your insights over the years?
For sure. So my biggest aha was learning that with the help of Photoshop, I could actually paint a portrait. So it's something that I always I'm a terrible drawer, but it was something that I always wanted to do. And it was something that that's where portrait photography came in for me, because it is art and it is much like a painting and an artist. Well, of course it's an artist, but you know what I mean? But with Photoshop and learning all of the things that Photoshop gives us, and of course we want it to look like you, but for some of the more artistic pieces that I do and some of the more like fine art pieces that I do, I enjoy studying what the Dutch masters have done. Veneer is one of my very favorites, and creating natural light sources combined with Photoshop to make that happen for my clients. And I had no idea that I could even do it. And it made me so happy. That was number one. The other thing that kind of changed everything for me, because I started as a wedding photographer and an outdoor family photographer, and I didn't have a studio. And one of the things that changed everything, especially once I got the studio, was that somebody very close to me died. And the first thing we do when somebody passes away is we look for pictures, right? We want to fill the memory boards and the slideshow and all of that. This woman had no recent pictures from the last 20 years of herself.
Oh, wow.
And that's who you're doing it for. You're doing it for your family. You're not even doing it for you. And they do not care that you were 10 pounds overweight or whatever it is that's bothering you. They just want you. Yeah. And it's so important. And once I kind of made that shift and that connection, and plus with the cancer stuff and all of that, I was like, that's what I'm supposed to do. It just became really clear. And I still get those moments of just euphoria. Like, I know that this is what I'm supposed to do. And I really want everybody to feel like that, like they are doing the thing that they are supposed to be doing.
Yeah, that's really big, especially in the wake of your close friend passing away, that it doesn't matter if you don't feel like you look your best. You're capturing that moment, and it's for so many other reasons other than you're looking at your own picture that you do what you do. So, I mean, that's beautiful. You know, I've looked up quite a few, and I've interacted with a few professional photographers who mostly do headshots, but can you tell me a little bit about how you got into boudoir and how that lights your fire?
It does. So usually I start with women in headshots. They usually come in because their job tells them that they need one. And I have glamour, I have headshots, and I have boudoir pictures up in my studio. And they see them and they're like, oh, I could do that. And yes, you can. And it doesn't matter what size you are, and it doesn't matter what you look like. And, you know, it's that trust. And once they trust you with the headshot or with the more, you know, smaller, more professional thing, they are more trusting of you to do something a little more fun, a little more glam, a little, you know, and we never ask people to go out of their comfort zone. If they are not comfortable with something I'm asking them to do, we always find a modification for it. But it is something that usually they all want to do. And it's not,
really?
They'll give it, you know, to their partner and they'll say, oh, this is for my anniversary. It's for them. It's totally for them. Their husbands, of course, or, you know, partners will enjoy it. But, you know, it's about feeling beautiful. It's about having that Vogue cover. It's about, you know, just like, oh my God, yeah, I do look like this. And seeing themselves from somebody else's point of view is kind of life-changing for a lot of women, because all they're doing is seeing themselves in the mirror from their own eye line. You take a selfie, you're kind of holding it up from wherever you are. And if somebody else takes a picture of you, you know, sometimes you don't like that picture. And trusting the photographer to know what they're doing and seeing themselves through a lens that is not their own is really, really different for a lot of people. And it really is something special. And I have women coming in again and again for it. It's something I enjoy a lot.
Yeah. It's great that your clients say that it's for themselves and not for somebody else. And I think that is so crucial when it comes to your self-image, your concepts of your own beauty, is that whatever you do, whether it's boudoir photography, whether it's plastic surgery, whether it's, you know, whatever it may be for your beauty, that it really is for you, for your fulfillment. It's a motivation that comes out of a healthy place from your own beauty psyche that, hey, I'm beautiful and I want to showcase this for me, but also for others, and it's not about gaining the respect or approval of somebody else.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And I'm glad you brought up the plastic surgery. My kids they have a lot of friends that are insecure from the way that they look or feel, or they feel a little different. And we have the technology and the resources now to change those things. And for the most part, when my own daughter had a breast reduction, it was impeding her life. It was a negative factor. People looked at her in a way that she didn't want to be looked at. It was something that was horrible for her self-esteem. Yeah. And a lot of doctors will not touch you until, you're 18 or 21 or whatever it is. We did manage to find a really, really good doctor who talked to her, and she had been in counseling forever. I cannot even begin to tell you the change in my daughter was night and day when she had it done. And of course the recovery was different, but now that she can wear dresses, she can feel good in her body. And it is something, it's an aid. And if it's something that has bothered you for your entire life and you just want to fix it, it's absolutely important to be able to do that. So I'm definitely an advocate for plastic surgery, for sure.
Yeah. And as I see patients in my office, much like you see when you see your clients, you really want to get into their headspace, their motivation. And in particular for me, I want to see that people are coming from a place of good motivation, not for somebody whose approval might be gone in a day. You're not subjecting yourself to their whims, basically.
I agree completely. It's something that needs some meditation, some deep thought, but if you know that you've lived with this forever and you just cannot do it anymore, it's a whole different story from somebody who, I just don't like, whatever the superficial thing is today. Right. No, I'm definitely an advocate for helping, honestly, anybody feel more confident in their body.
Yeah. In your approach to the client who you can kind of tell they're afraid or reluctant to come out of the shell, what are some of the tricks that you have to really help them bloom?
We have their favorite music playing. We always make sure that we have their favorite drink, their favorite snacks, as long as it isn't something messy that's going to, impede the makeup that they just had to. Exactly. Just giving it an atmosphere of, we are here for you. This day is completely about you. You don't need to be, and I train my girls too, they're kind of younger and, they just start talking, and we always have to kind of circle back to, okay, include the client, please. Yes. But that's the whole thing. It's just making them feel like, and we very much care about who's in front of our camera. It's making them feel like they can be comfortable in their skin, like they can have this whole day and deserve this whole day for them, and trust that we are going to make sure that they are photographed beautifully, and we don't want to do anything that they are not going to like. And that's why I guarantee everything too. If they don't like it, I will give you your money back. I will reshoot. I will make sure that you are happy. And that is something that kind of, it helps too. But making the day about them, having the music about them, making them feel like they're part of our team, it helps a ton. It helps a ton.
Absolutely. So I can see and kind of feel, even though we're far away, I can feel that passion for what you do through the screen even. How is the process in terms of picking your staff so that you can convey that passion to them and they can convey that passion with you to your clients?
That is extremely important. I actually, I was stuck for an assistant a little later last year, and she wasn't a great fit, but we had to try it. So, we had a few days for it. So it's important that I am getting to know them as well as I'm trying to get to know my clients, because I want to make sure that their values and their attitudes and their imagination is all there, because we thrive on it is about the client, but we're still professionals. So, we still, even though we're usually in workout clothes because we are sweating while we're working, it's still like we need to keep the gossip down. We need to keep, and even if the client is starting to do that, it's just a so negative energy space that, we try and reel that in a little bit. And we're like, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And then we move on, but it's extremely important that my staff fit that mold. And we use, for hair and makeup, we use girls from a salon that I partner with. And once in a while, there's like a new girl that comes in that's just kind of not quite the right fit. And, I got to tell my friend about it, the girl that owns the salon. And it's never a hard conversation, but she's like, she'll either talk to her or, pick somebody else next time. It's hard when they're a little younger and they haven't lived and had the experience yet, but we get there. Yeah.
And speaking of experience, and you can share as little or as much as you like, through your cancer diagnosis, how did you find beauty within yourself?
That was extremely hard. At this point, my whole body is a scar. So I had to have it was from 2017 to like 2022. I've had, I think 15 surgeries. So we started with a colon resection, and then I had a BRCA2 diagnosis and a surgical hernia. I'm going to get into all the stuff. So the surgical hernia was caused from the colon resection. But also I had 2 C-sections. So there was that too. So because of the BRCA2, we went in and did the total hysterectomy because of the cervical cancer diagnosis. And it was very hard. So like I had the double mastectomy, I had the total hysterectomy, I had my thyroid out. I don't have any natural hormone in my body right now. And I also lost the parts of me that I identified as female. So it was an extremely hard thing to kind of get over. And honestly, it's a new thing that I'm kind of like accepting everything that happened. I kind of put it off because it was stuff that had to happen. And I am finally to a point where I'm good. Like, this is me now. And I have doctors to help me with the hormone part. And I am enjoying not having to wear a bra. And, there's all kinds of parts that are good, but it did, let's see. It's March of 2020 that we started this process, right as COVID started. So it's been 4 years, and I'm finally like, I feel like I can breathe. I'm like, all right, this is just me now, and I'm older, and things are not going to work the way that they used to work, and that's okay. Getting used to my kids are adults and not around, and what am I going to do with myself? And now I'm starting to branch out a little bit where, I can do things like podcasts, and I can speak on stages, and I can travel and enjoy my husband's company a little more too, like I'm not busy running everywhere and for everyone. So it's a new stage, and it's something I'm enjoying a lot, actually. And I'm finally to a point where I'm like, this is me, like it or not. And I really do I was just at an open mic last night for my daughter, and I was standing with the girls, and one of her friends came up. She's like, I thought you were a kid, the way that you were standing and tossing your hair or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I look cute today, and that's okay. Except when you look cute and act just like that, it's all right. you know? And it's just knowing it, accepting it, and that's just who you are, and that's okay.
Yeah. In the context of your battle scars, so to speak, you are beautiful, right? And that's about all you can say.
You know, it's always the attitude. It's not even so much what you actually look like. If you are out there and you feel good and you are confident with who you are and you're like, I do look really good, and you don't need to have a glass of wine to feel like that. It shows. It shows. It's a mindset.
Yeah.
And people are attracted to that mindset and to that positivity. And that's something that took me a long time to get to. And I'm super glad that I'm here now.
And you know, what's great is that not only have you found that for yourself, but you're helping your clients find that every day, which is awesome.
Yes, that is my happy place. That's where I thrive. And it's helping other women not have to go through all the scary, tough things before they feel like that. And it's so important. It's so important.
Yes. So this is something I like to ask professional portraiture artists and photographers. What do you make of this selfie era, and how is it helping or hurting our self-image? And how do you kind of break through that person who's kind of fixated on, oh, I have selfies and that's enough?
Those aren't my clients. They were never my clients. So it's, you know, it is what it is. It's not going away. So we have to work with it. Selfies have been around, probably 15 years now since we had cameras on our phones.
Yeah.
It's, you know, we're with Gen Z. It is going to be honestly the most photographed generation ever in history. And the kids know what they're doing. They are confident. They know what side is their good side. They know what good light is. They know how to angle the phone exactly the way that they need to. They know how to do their, you know, stupid freckle filters and all the other stuff that they're doing. And I'm good with it, honestly. I know it's going to sound weird coming from a photographer, but it's never going to replace a professional headshot. Even with the AI stuff, even with, you know, all the things that people are doing, I've seen some good AI headshots and I've seen some bad ones. And if you're happy with it, you're happy with it. And that's great. But it's not a photographer. And people know that. And they always know when it is AI. So one of the things that we really strive for in the studio is to make sure that the portrait looks like you on a really, really good day in the end. And there is a certain amount of editing that goes into it, but I never want to make you look plastic or fake or, you know, 10 pounds lighter, because that isn't who you are. But I'm usually good for 10 pounds with lighting and posing. Is what I usually tell people, so it's fine. But yeah, no, I'm about selfies, because you know what? They're taking pictures of themselves. They're putting them out there, and that's what's important. And if they're happy with how they look, great. Like that's amazing, because we didn't have that. And it's something I really, really wish that we did more of.
It's funny that your initial response with, they can kind of have it, because that's how I feel with people who they will never consider something that an office like mine would have. And kind of like you said, you want your clients to look like their best on a very good day. I don't want my patients to look pulled or overdone. I want them to look like a younger, more refreshed version of themselves. So, I mean, it's like you're preaching to the choir here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, echo chamber. I love it. I'm glad that they're doing it. And I think more of us in Gen X and millennials need to start doing more of it too. Honestly, like post the picture. Even if, you might hate it, somebody else is going to love it. And the more you're used to kind of seeing yourself and seeing the comments, because, nobody's going out of their way to be mean to you, not all comments are like that. Usually people are pretty encouraging, and it gets you to a place of acceptance, not just from your friends and from your family, but of yourself. And it's important. It's very important to be comfortable with who you are. And if the way to do that is posting a selfie a day and actually posting it so that other people can see it, then that's the way to do it. It's a great therapy.
Yeah. And I kind of resonate with that because of my training, like we're always taught that only our best is enough. But yet in today's Instagram, social media society, really it's just put it out there. Your B+ is fine. And so when it comes to, also our beauty or our portraiture, oftentimes we're too busy nitpicking the tiny, tiny minutia, and we don't see the broader picture of, wow, okay, this is really good.
Yeah. 100%. That is how I felt about my pictures that I was posting of other people. I felt like, oh my God, these are not perfect and I need to make them perfect, and they're never going to be perfect. Right. So it's done is better than perfect. Nobody else is really going to know unless they're in the field, your client, honestly, there's a few competitions that I still do, but I've all but stopped because clients they're looking at your portfolio. They don't care what you won. They don't care. Like, they don't know what these publications are, so it's okay. It's okay to post things that are not your top gold winning, whatever. It's people just want to see what you have, what you can offer. And something that I really take pride in is that I do have personality show through each person. So even though I have a formula, I have the posing, run through and all of that, but it looks different on everybody. And that is what you're going to see when you look at the portfolio that I have, or the things that I post online, is that, oh, you're right. This one is just a little different, and we are getting genuine smiles, or we are looking sultry and sexy, like it's, nothing's ever perfect, and that's okay. I've dropped that for the most part. And I think for a lot of people, that's something that they get kind of hung up on. And I know I did. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think just going back to that, what you mentioned earlier about authenticity, it's the genuineness that comes out in your final product. And just looking through your website, I can definitely see that in your product.
Oh, thank you. I try.
So obviously, Liz, you impact the world and make it a better place with beautiful photographs of your clients. Can you tell me about another aspect of your life in which you find beauty on a regular basis?
I'm glad you asked this. I used to sing. And I loved singing. It was something I kind of took for granted because how often is somebody going to become a professional singer? And I was in a position that I couldn't really afford college. So it didn't grow. And I had my thyroid out, and I had vocal cord damage, and I lost it. I was an 8-octave vocalist I knew how to throat sing. I could do all kinds of stuff, and I can't anymore.
Oh, yeah.
My daughter, on the other hand, has my voice. She has what I lost. And she came into it about 13 years old, when we first started to kind of notice it, because we have a karaoke game that we're playing. And I'm like, oh my God, this kid needs she needs lessons now, you know? And originally she wanted to be a writer, and now she wants to be a musician, and we're encouraging that because it is like the first thing that she practices without being told, which is kind of nice. And she really takes a lot of pride in it. So watching her at all the different open mics that she's been doing, and watching the other people at the open mics that she's been doing, it makes me, I cry every time I go. When I hear somebody's original song, no matter how unfinished or how, you know, rough it is, it's coming from a place of authenticity for them, and they're doing it for them. They're not doing it to please the masses. They're doing it because they want to do it. And they know they're not like going to become the, you know, Taylor Swift of the world anymore. You know, like it's fine. And they're just doing it because they love it. And that is like the most beautiful thing. I am so happy that I get to experience this.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Music is really therapy for the soul, for the performer and for the listener.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm really glad that that's in your life. Is your daughter the one applying to college soon?
Yes.
Or going to senior year? Yeah. So is Eastman a consideration?
It isn't. She wants to go further away than that, which I wasn't on board with until, you know, we did the college tour thing this spring. Now she's, her first choice is Bard, which is in the Catskills. And her second choice was actually the University of Arts in Philadelphia, which they just closed. There's actually a big investigation about it. They gave the kids like a week to get out of the dorms. So yeah, it's a whole thing. But now she's thinking Ithaca is her second choice. So that's a little closer. Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. So, I mean, I went to Ithaca, I was like 5 or 6 years old with my little violin and my parents. We went to summer camp all together. So Ithaca is a special place in my heart. In addition to Buffalo, beautiful. Of course.
Yeah, no, Ithaca is gorgeous. Well, that's what they say.
The shirt.
No, it is. It's a beautiful town, and the campus is gorgeous, and it has just about everything she wants to concentrate a little more on education than on actually performing, which is why it's not the top of her list. But yeah, it's a great place.
Wonderful. It's and I think there's a Wegmans nearby, right?
Oh, yes. Yes, there is.
That's crucially important.
It's important for everybody that knows where Wegmans is. Yes.
Yes. Thankfully, in the DC metro area, we do have Wegmans. So I'm very happy about that. Many of my friends who moved back to, you know, West Coast or Midwest, they're very sad. And every time they come to Western New York or to DC, they always look for a Wegmans.
Honestly, it's an amazing place. And I have to tell you, whether you use this or not. So when the kids were little, and I was between not having a job or a car to starting to, I really need a job. I worked at Wegmans for almost a year, and I was a cake decorator there.
Oh,
and,
wonderful.
Oh, it's great. I absolutely loved it. They're fantastic to their employees. They give back to the community. I love Wegmans. There was that first Christmas that I was working there, and I think my daughter was like under 2, and then my son was maybe 4, and I had no money. I had nothing for Christmas. But I had asked people to, you know, just say it's from Santa, please, like other people that were going to gift them. And they were so young, they wouldn't have known anyway. And somebody had asked, and I told them that. I'm like, it's going to be okay. Like, we're fine. But yeah, I have nothing, you know. I'm going to cry saying this. Wegmans, the store manager, heard what I was going through. So sorry.
That's okay. Take your time.
They gifted me a Visa gift card for a couple $100 to get the kids some presents. And I'm so grateful for that. It always, I'm sorry. No, it always chokes me up. It's always something that is so, so near and dear to me. And I choose Wegmans over everything, just on principle.
I think they're consistently one of the best companies to work for in the US.
Yeah, that's what I'm understanding too. They're always on the Fortune 500. It's worthy. They are worthy of that.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that beautiful story.
Yeah.
For you, the listener, or for you, the viewer, you can find Elizabeth Snyder on her website at elizabethsnyderphotography.com. No underscores, just no spaces, no nothing. elizabethsnyderphotography.com. And can you tell them a little bit about your free resource?
Yeah. So I have a PDF that is the workbook for my workshop. So it'll walk you through some of the exercises that we use to actually be open to what your purpose is and starting to introduce it into your life a little bit. Very proud of it. It's only a few pages long, but it asks some pretty poignant questions, I think. And I am very excited to have it finished and to have it for you to gift to your listeners.
Wonderful. So we're going to leave that link in the description, as well as a link to her website. And for Liz Snyder Photography, what is next on the big horizon?
I am writing a book, and it is with an editor right now. So I have some back and forth to do with them. We're hoping for December, and it will be about letting go of fear, finding your purpose, introducing it into your life. It's going to be like the whole workshop that I do in a book. And I'm very excited for that. I am also starting to speak on some more stages, which I'm very grateful for. So we'll I always keep everything updated in my blog, so you'll have all the most recent events in there.
Oh, wonderful. She is a beautiful woman of many talents, Liz Snyder. Thank you so much for being on the You Are Beautiful podcast.
This has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I loved this conversation. I really appreciate it.
I had a wonderful time as well. It was a pleasure having Elizabeth Snyder on the You Are Beautiful podcast with J. Kim, MD. Her message of empowering women with portraiture, with finding your purpose in minutes, is a message that I think everyone needs to hear and embrace. And it goes very much in line with the message that we have here at the You Are Beautiful podcast. Again, the 3 core tenets are: you are beautiful, you are unique, and you are worth it. Till next time, stay beautiful and take care.